Everyone, we'll wait just another moment for some others to join. All right, we'll go ahead and get started now. So thank you everyone for joining LycoRed today to learn more about Lycomato 6, the longevity partner. But before we get started, I want to point out that this webinar does offer translations in closed captions. So please follow the directions that are on the screen if you'd like to enable translated captions. This is optional. Today's presentation will be about 45 minutes. During the webinar, please feel free to answer any questions into the Q&A, and we'll get to them at the end. So now I'd like to turn it over to our presenter, Elizabeth Tarshish, PhD, Head of Scientific Value and Strategy at LycoRed. Today, Elizabeth will be sharing Lycomato 6's impact on cellular and mitochondrial health and how it promotes longevity through a broad spectrum of health indications, including skin, heart, men, and women's health. So, Elizabeth, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you, Jen, and hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you very much for come to hear us here today. I would like to take this opportunity, as Jen said, to talk to you about our product, our new launch product, Lycomato, the Power of Six, and to tell you a little bit about the story of LycoRed and the story of Lycomato and why we call him our anti-inflammation agent. So for those of you that are not familiar with LycoRed until now, let me give you a little review. So LycoRed is a company that was established in 1995. So we will be celebrating 30 years of activity next year, actually. And during these years, we have done a lot of different activities, a lot of science. So our company is mostly focused on developing and researching natural compounds, especially carotenoids, but not only. And understanding how can we utilize the power of this natural ingredients to make our lives better, to make us more healthy, beautiful, and glowing. So we established a vast network of scientific substantiation during these years. And you can see here on the slide, we have done a lot of activities. We have hundreds of studies that we did on different ingredients and different formulations. We have hundreds and thousands of preclinical studies that we did together with universities and KOLs all over the world. We have many different products that unfortunately we won't be able to present them all because we just don't have a lot of time. That's why we will be focusing on our Lycomato. But we have different products, we have different carotenoids, we have vitamins, we have formulations that address different health needs and different beauty needs, and a lot of different interesting activities. So if we need to explain what LycoRed does, except what I just presented, I think that the best way to describe us is a company that is basing our activity on four the most important for us pillars: nature, humanity, science, and education. And what does it mean? Nature, because all of our products, all of our ingredients are natural ingredients. We are responsible for the whole process. If it's developing the seed of the tomato, planting it in the soil, making sure that it will grow well, and until the harvesting. And then the harvested tomatoes go to our facilities, And then we are extracting these wellness extractions from it. Everything is natural, everything is sustainable. We are using every part of the tomato, not only to extract the formulation, but making sure that nothing goes to waste. The science part is very important because we believe that our product should be scientifically substantiated, fully substantiated, meaning that we try to make sure that we address every aspect, safety, efficacy, uh, uh, understanding how the final customer experience our product. So we are trying to get everything and study everything. Educational sessions such as this, we're trying to contribute different kinds of educational sessions to our customers, to our suppliers, but also to the general audience to make sure that people fully understand the power of carotenoids, the power of nature, and the tight connection between wellness and between natural ingredients. And humanity, because we really believe here in LycoRed about giving back. So we are trying to do a lot of different activities throughout the years, volunteering, making different co-ventures with other companies to give back to the world. Not only take what nature gives us, but also give back to the world. So let's talk about inflammaging. What is this inflammaging? This is a word that wasn't, out there until recent years, and all of the sudden we see inflammaging, longevity, cellular wellness all over publications, all over scientific journals. So what is inflammaging? If we look at our lifespan throughout the years, we understand that inflammation and oxidative stress is two factors that we are combating since we are born. So a young baby, of course, have a different and stronger protection. But inflammation and oxidative stress that are all around us and are coming from external stressors and internal stressors keep accumulating in the body and damage it. Okay, and as everything that is being accumulated over time, it takes time before we actually feel the change, feel this bad things accumulating in our bodies. So oxidation and inflammation today are known to be one of the main reasons for chronic diseases. If you will look at many chronic diseases, and of course, not only skin related, but many, even autoimmune diseases, you will see that they will be usually accompanied with high inflammation and oxidative stress in the body. This gives an understanding this core processes may be the cause or maybe the byproduct, and maybe even both. But even if both are correct, we understand that if we can protect our bodies, at least to some extent, make it stronger, and protect it from these two pillars, we are able to strengthen our body and makes us more healthy. And in this case, it's kind of reversing back time because, again, when you are young, when you're a baby, when you're a teenager, when you are a young adult, the stress is not yet accumulated in your body. So your cellular age, of course, is younger. So if we can find ways to affect your cellular age, affect and reduce oxidative stress and inflammation, we are able to find solutions for many different health concerns. So with this understanding in mind, this started the journey of our Lycomato. So what is Lycomato? Lycomato is a full natural extraction of our breeded tomato. Means it's not the regular tomatoes you can buy in the shop, but a special breed of tomatoes that is full and packed of different very healthy phytonutrients and a specific ratio that was found to be the most healthy one. So as you can see here in the slide, of course, the lycopene is a big portion of the lycomine, but it's not the only part. You will find phytoN and phytofluorine, who are the colorless cousins of the lycopene that absorb light differently. The tocopherols that are well known in our industry to be to affect many different health indications. The beta carotene and the phytosterols. All of them together work in a perfect synergy. Each of them, of course, has a contribution to our health. But when they are combined together, magic happens. And we spent many, many years on looking how this synergy actually works. How when all of the natural parts of the tomato come together, they will show stronger efficiency and a very good safety profile. And here is just an example for this teamwork. So I just mentioned the colorless cousins phytoN and phytofluorine. So here you can see an example of wave light absorption. So to some of you that know or don't know, wave light absorption is actually a very big part of combating inflammation and oxidative stress, because a harmful UV, we all know about UV and the damages of the UV outside, of course. But not everyone knows that UV harm accumulates in our cells, sometimes in our nucleus, and the most damaged one are those that penetrate into the depth of the cell. So you can see that when those phytonutrients are brought together, they work in synergy. So the protection is a lot wider. You can see that the lycopene absorbs light in one place of the wavelengths, and the phytoN and phytofluorine in other. So this is a great example of such synergy happens. Each of them has his own unique property, his own unique protection layer. And this is, of course, only one example of how the synergy works. So with this in mind, with the understanding of what is this tomato golden extraction, this magical extraction, we started to investigate. We started to understand where can we utilize these benefits, how can we help, what can we actually affect. And if we understand the mechanism of action of the Lycomato within the cell, meaning how can we influence the cells? If we understand these four mechanisms that you see here, inflammation that we just discussed, oxidative stress, those two, of course, affect the immunity, because our immunity and our resilience, of course, will affect those both. All of those will affect the longevity. Longevity is a term that is very popular today, because I think the scientific community understands for the first time that age is not only a number. We can be 50, but our bodies can be 25, and we can be 50 and our bodies can be like 65, meaning that our age, our cellular age can be totally different. So when we are making an effort and making sure that we are keeping ourselves healthy from the inside as well, calming all the body mechanism, we're making sure that we are staying useful from the inside out. So as I said, if we understand these pillars, if we understand how it works on the cellular level, in different words, we can affect everything. Of course, here in LycoRed, we can't investigate into everything, but we actually looked at quite a lot. We have 25 clinical studies and hundreds of preclinical studies and reviews done on Lycomato. And here is an example. You see, those are totally different body organs or mechanisms. But if to go in deep dive, we understand that they are not totally different. All of them, in one way or another, work on the same in the same mechanism of action. That is why we can offer such a broad solution for general wellness and cellular energy. Because when we affect the cell, we affect the heart. And when we affect the heart, we'll affect the eyes. And when we affect the eyes, we will affect the bones, etc., etc. So here in this relatively short session, Unfortunately, I can't go over all the studies, of course, and all the indications, so I will give you a glimpse. We will just see some nice examples, some nice graphs and results that are coming, of course, from our clinical study. Here you can see a list. You can see that those are different endpoints, different indications, different periods, different years. So we have a very vast experience of investigating into our Lycomato. So let's deep dive. So we talked about cellular wellness, and I just explained the importance, because this is what happens inside the cell. We talked about inflammation, oxidative stress. So those are not only terms we know, most of us know when we are giving blood to the lab to see when we are sick or we're just doing our routine tests, usually see a CRP test. So CRP test is considered to be a very known inflammation marker. It shows the general, of course, there are many different inflammation markers that have been tested, but CRP is the one that most of the people will know. So when you have high CRP levels, usually the doctor will say, well, you are ill, or there is a inflammatory process in your body, something is wrong. Is a good indicator of the fact that something is wrong. Same for SOD plasma levels. Say when they are elevated, when the superoxides are elevated, this means that the oxidative stress, the ROS levels in the body are elevated. It usually means something is wrong. We are out of balance. So here you can see an example of how systemic use supplementation with Lycomato supports this foundation. It reversed back and reduced significantly the inflammation, the CRP, and the SOD markers in the body, meaning help the body from the inside out to get back to balance. And here is an interesting slide that shows Lycomato dosage and how it positively correlates with oxidative stress. So, well, it makes sense, you will say, right? If you're giving more of something, it will affect it more. And of course, especially in the lab, this is what it says. But what's nice to see that if you will look on at the lower dosages, you can see already at 1 micromolar of Lycomato, the result was significant and profound. You see that it is already statistically significant. You have 2 dots here. So it means actually that even if you are using low ratio, low dosages of Lycomato, of course, those are cells and there's clinical dosage, but generally, the Lycomato is very efficient. And it has a strong efficacy response even at the lower doses, and of course reduces this oxidative stress already when at the start of the supplementation at lower doses. So we just mentioned longevity 2 slides ago, right? We talked about aging and cellular aging and our true age from the inside. So one of the interesting things that became also very popular during maybe the last 5 to 10 years are the telomeres, telomere health. So for those that don't know, the telomeres are the little blue boxes that actually protect our chromosomes. This is the DNA. Those are the chromosomes. And the ends of this chromosome are exposed. And if they are exposed, they can be harmed. So the telomere closes and protects this explosion. And researchers found, even in the mid-80s, I think, that the telomeres are not only protecting the chromosomes, but protecting us. People that were found to have long and intact telomeres were usually youthful and healthy. And when those telomeres are being shortened, meaning that the oxidative stress and the inflammation eats them out, those people are usually more sick and their cellular age is older. So you see so lycopene, Lycomato, was found to protect these telomeres. You can find scientific substantiation that showed that by protecting these telomeres, again, oh, I'm sorry, it helps them to stay intact, okay, because of the mechanism of action we talked about, the reduction of inflammation and oxidative stress, the telomeres are stay safe, and the Lycomato can affect our chromosomal wellness by helping the telomeres to stay intact. And another and very important aspect of longevity and cellular aging is the effect that Lycomato has on mitochondrial function. So this is actually a study, this is our most recent study that was published only a couple of months ago. And this study was a very big preclinical study that explored the mechanism of action on the mitochondrial level, meaning what happens within the cell when we are exposing the cells to Lycomato. And the study found that a lot actually happens, a lot of protection and reversing within the cell. And here I'm showing you only two results, but very important. So the mitochondria is a little body that is, you can find inside of every cell, human cell. And this body is the responsible body of for making energy. Our energy, our viability is happening within this tiny, tiny mitochondria. So when the mitochondria is damaged, and when I say damaged, I mean also accumulative damage, the inflammaging damage that we talked about, that happens throughout the years, throughout the stress, throughout everything that happens to our bodies within it and outside of it. The mitochondrial damage accumulates, and the mitochondria is starting to be dysfunctional, at least to some extent, meaning that it works very hard, but the amount of energy and the amount of solutions that it gives to the body minimizes. And when it minimizes, of course, we're saying we are looking at it as mitochondrial dysfunction. So when we, in here to the left, you can see the column to the left, the gray one, was the normal condition, okay, when nothing happened to the cells. And then we expose the cells to stress that mimics the stress that usually our cells are undergoing. And you can see that the levels of oxidative stress within the mitochondria went up 4 times, 4 folds up, meaning 400% and more. This is a very extensive damage. But we found that if we are pre-treating our cells with Lycomato before we exposing them to damage, you still will see, of course, some damage accumulates, but look at this difference. This means that when our body is not well nourished and when our body has enough of our Lycomato or enough natural compounds to combat this stress, to combat it, we can actually even reverse it. So we like to say that this is like a reservoir of goodness. When we are supplementing, constantly supplementing, even if we are perfectly healthy, we're keeping the levels of the needed phytonutrients within us, making sure that if the body will be under stress, the body has resources. You will use these resources to fight back and stay balanced. And the graph to the right actually shows a very interesting topic. This is cellular senescence. So senescence is, in simple words, is cellular aging. When our cells age, when we age, the level of cellular senescence goes up. This is a natural process that happens all the time, and again, accumulates through life and through stress. But it was found that the cellular senescence will dramatically go up when the cells are exposed to stress, okay, because of the mitochondrial dysfunction. So again, you see normal conditions, and then stress was induced, and look at these numbers, 500% increase in cellular senescence, meaning that the cells are really become the age. But again, when we are pre-treating the cells with our Lycomato, look what happens. It reduced almost to normal levels, meaning we measured the cellular aging directly before, after the damage, and with Lycomato after the damage, and look at this change. This means it actually proves on the cellular level what Lycomato does. Why do we see all the great results in our clinical studies and hear them from people? Because it really affects the cellular levels. So if we looked at all of this and understand how it works inside the cell, let's look at other indications to understand how it's being manifested to them. So of course, skin. Skin is our body's largest organ, and it's not only about the beauty. We know that we are communicating and connecting with the environment through our skin, and also our skin is there to protect us. It protects everything that is under the skin. So when we're saying skin, it's not only beauty. It is, but not only beauty. So we need to make sure that our most important layer of protection is stay protected. So here is a clinical study that showed that supplementation with Lycomato actually protects the skin from the inside. We all know that when we are going to the beach and we are exposed to the sun, we talked about the UV exposure, you remember in the beginning of this lecture, we are accumulating stress again, and we are accumulating harmful UV that penetrates our body. So one of the things that happens when the UV penetrates the body is that different mechanisms are activated. In this case, a thing that is called MMP1, which is an enzyme that is being activated due to UV accumulation. And what it does, it degrades this intracellular matrix, things like collagen and elastin. They are breaking down inside the cells. That is why you usually will hear that people that are not protecting their skin from the sun will usually look older, right? They will have wrinkles, they will have saggy skin. This is exactly because of this mechanism, because this harmful enzyme is accumulated in their body, works all the time, and hurts the intracellular matrix. So here you can see a great example of how Lycomato helps the body to cope with it. So you see those are different UV lights, the UVA, and then the UVA plus the UVB. And when the people were supplemented with Lycomato, you see that the changes in an MMP1 were not very, very strong. Of course, it accumulates. Nothing can protect it in 100%, but still. But when we looked at the placebo group, look at these changes. Again, the UVA by itself boosted the MMP1, but when the UVA came together with UVB, look at these numbers. Okay, so again, the Lycomato helped the skin to protect itself from the inside out and protect us from the harm of the UV sun. And of course, we just said when the skin is protected from the inside, it is protected from the outside and looks better from the outside. Those just a glimpse of an example of a clinical study we published last year in 2023 that looked at the visual manifestations of skin protection. So here you can see wrinkles and fine lines. I hope you can see the difference in this one photo. But as you can see, already after 4 weeks of use of Lycomato, the numbers went down, meaning the wrinkles and the fine lines on these ladies' faces became better, clearer, thinner, less deep. So, and after 12 weeks of use, because we all know that physiological differences take time, right? It takes time for the skin to change and the cells to renew themselves. So you can see that after 12 weeks, you can see significant reduction in all kinds of wrinkles and fine lines. Also what we found, and of course, this makes a lot of sense after we talked a lot about inflammaging, right? That inflammaging doesn't only happen within the cell. It, of course, happens systemically. So here in the picture, you can see rosea. Rosea is inflammation of the skin. You can see the lady before and after, and of course, the cheeks look, the color is more even and more natural. And this is a result of making the skin barrier stronger. So we found in the study that when we are treating, when they are supplementing the Lycomato, the skin barrier becomes better. In other words, the skin becomes stronger. When the skin is stronger, it retains more humidity inside. So we lose less water to the surrounding, and we keep it moist. When the skin is moist, it looks like, of course, beautiful. And when the inflammation under it reduces, the result is younger and beautiful skin. And also, just a word about skin damage. We talked about UV protection. So one of the things about UV, of course, is accumulating melanin in our skin. Sometimes spots that are, sometimes we see them only in the summer, sometimes all the time. So we also were able to reduce to some extent skin pigmentation in some of our participants. And now let's jump to heart health. Heart health of course, was, I think, connected for many, many years with men's health. But today, I think everyone's agreed that it is not the case. I think that this is a holistic problem that affecting men and women, maybe a little bit different, but still. So when we're talking about heart health, cardiometabolic health, this is something that is very important for all of us to notice, especially in stressful times like this, when we are facing things like COVID, war, stress, all kinds of stress, and we accumulate it in our bodies. Our cardiometabolic condition is very important. And how Lycomato can help in this. So lycopene is well known for many, many, many years now to be very beneficial for heart health. This was the thought around looking at Lycomato, because as we said, Lycomato is not only lycopene, but a lot of different phytonutrients that work in synergy. So we try to understand what are the most important mechanism of action for heart health, right? What is usually being a concern for people. So all of us know what is bad cholesterol, right? Today, everyone is super aware about HDL and LDL, and then we want our nutrition to be healthy, and we don't want to eat too much sugar, too much fat, too much meat, etc., etc. But not all the people know that the bad cholesterol, the LDL, right, is harmful, but it's even more harmful when it's being oxidized. So when, again, we have oxidative stress in our bodies in higher levels, it oxidizes all kinds of things, not only our cells, and it oxidizes the bad cholesterol. So when we have a lot of oxidized LDL, we potentially can have a heart condition. So in one of our studies, we showed that by supplementing on Lycomato, we reduce the lipids peroxidation dramatically. Look at these numbers and look how fast it happens. You remember that I showed you the slide about that showed that different dosages of Lycomato work well, even at lower doses. Look at this as well. This part shows you the Lycomato concentration. So you will see that all work well, right? But you can see a big and efficient difference already in the lower doses, meaning that Lycomato actually works even once it's introduced to the body at the lower doses as well. It is very potent. So when we reduced our lipid peroxidation and we know that our cholesterol is not being oxidized, we can move to our next point. So blood flow. Blood flow, again, a very, very known endpoint. It can be a concern for many different indications. So healthy blood flow is important, of course, for oxygen delivery, right? We know when our veins and arteries are clogged, with cholesterol, with all kinds of diseases, the flow response, the vessel blood flow is reduced, and it's very tightly connected to heart attack and to different coronary diseases. So we want to make sure that the oxygens and the nutrients in our bodies are efficiently traveling everywhere. So we want to make the blood flow healthy. So you can see again from one of the clinical studies that measured blood vessel flow by a PET index, okay? And look at the numbers, okay? It was significantly improved after Lycomato supplementation. So we have the reduced oxidized cholesterol, we have the improved blood vessel flow, and the third but not least, of course, blood pressure. This is, I think, the most common endpoints that are well known. Blood pressure. Everyone is saying keep your blood pressure low, right? Because high blood pressure can be associated with many different diseases, not only heart diseases, but still. And it also affects everything. When the blood pressure is high, it will affect other body organs and even the eyes, for example. So when we are officially combating and balancing the blood flow, blood pressure, we're also making sure making other body parts healthy. So here you can see, again, a clinical study done 3 years ago that showed that supplementation with Lycomato reduced this blood pressure. Look at these numbers. Week after week, the blood pressure went down until it hit a normal range. Of course, Lycomato is not a cure. This is not a cure for people that have a very high blood pressure. We are not offering it, for patients instead of RX drugs, but we are mostly talking about prevention. I think natural compounds as Lycomato, even that they are very, very potent, will help the body to balance, meaning that, again, if we are pre-treating ourselves, we have enough of that in our system, it will help the body to bounce back to normal. But it's not intended to treat. So even if you're seeing the numbers are great here, it is not, Lycomato will be good for everyone. Also as a second line or actually being with other drugs, because it will help them and help the body to help them. But generally speaking, this is a more of a preventive effect, right? We want to make sure that everything within the normal ranges, close to it, or stays around them. So you see, after we hit the normal blood pressure levels, we did an extension study to look at what happens later. And if you look what happens later, it does exactly what it says. Lycomato works smartly. It works smartly because our body is smart. And when it is balanced, it stays balanced. So basically, when everything is okay, Lycomato will make sure it will stay okay, meaning it helps our body to cope and to stay balanced when we are already within the normal ranges. And now let's see some examples in women health. So women health is an interesting indication because it's not very straightforward. Like, what are we saying when we are thinking about women health? What is different in women and in men when we're talking about body systems? So, of course, when we think about it, we think about osteoporosis. We think about postmenopausal women. So postmenopausal women suffer, many of them suffer from osteoporosis with age. And why? Because, as you can see in this nice demo, there are two processes that happen simultaneously. The healthy bone is being formed by osteoblasts, but the bone also being resorbed by osteoclasts. This is a normal process that happens through a lifetime. But when women after menopause, the osteoclasts become maybe more active because of the difference in the hormonal balance, and they are resorbing the bone. That's why our bones, you see, that are usually made of these two bone cells are become more fragile. So why is it important? So if we understand this mechanism of action, we can explore and see how lycopene helps to support healthy bones. And how? You can see in these two interesting, very different, but very correlative studies, how Lycomato affects it. So look at this. Let's start with the study on the right. This was a study that was done on diet deficiency, meaning we took healthy women that are eating normally with good nutrition, and we restricted them for all lycopene enriched product for a month, meaning that they couldn't have any food that contains lycopene, and actually quite a lot, of course, supplementation as well, but food. And look at what happened. This is only 1 month of restriction. And even in 1 month, you can see a significant increase in the NTX. The NTX is the bone resorption marker. This is what accumulates in the body, in the bones, when our nutrition is lacking or we don't have enough carotenoids in the body. So look, after 1 month of restriction, it already significantly jumps. So just imagine what happens with the bones over time. And in this study, to the left, we did, of course, the opposite thing. We gave the women Lycomato and started to supplement them. And look what happened month after month after month. This NTX was reduced significantly. So when you're looking at these two graphs, it's very easy to understand that this is a reverse connection, right? If you are supplementing on Lycomato, you are getting enough of the phytonutrients that will help and support the osteoblasts in the bone, and by that reduce the bone resorption marker. And if we can reduce the bone resorption marker, we can help the bones to be stronger and healthier. I mentioned osteoporosis, of course, and postmenopausal women, because we know that it starts, this bone resorption and other symptoms start because of hormonal imbalance. Okay, it's not only a technical thing, it's not a surprise that these bone resorption markers are suddenly being accumulated. They're accumulated there because of hormonal imbalance. We know that the estrogen levels in women are different between when we are young and when we are older. And the estrogen promotes healthy bones. So when it is reduced, okay, the levels are reduced, naturally reduced, the bones become more fragile. So interesting enough, while we weren't, of course, looking at Lycomato as a hormone replacement option, but in series of studies that we did, preclinical studies, to see how Lycomato affects the hormonal balance. And we found a very interesting thing, because when you're saying estrogen, many of you that are involved in women health will think about breast cancer, mammalian cells, because it is well known that if the estrogen will go up, it gives an extra layer maybe of concern with the breast cancer or mammalian cells generally. But we found that the Lycomato, again, is very smart. It actually works with your body and makes the changes in the places that they are needed. So we found that Lycomato, when it's given systemically, it can both reduce and induce estrogen simultaneously, but in different cell type. So to the right, we see cells. Those are the bone cells, right? We just saw what happens when we are supplementing. So when we supplemented gave Lycomato to the cells, the estrogen in the bones went up while at the same time, the estrogen in the mammalian cells went down. And it happens simultaneously. This is another interesting example to understand how smart is our body. Like it really knows how to take whatever reservoir you have for itself and use it smartly. So when we are putting Lycomato in our bodies, we are making sure that every organ, every system in our body will take the needed phytonutrients to the needed place and help them to balance. And of course, we talked about women health. So let's say a few words about men health. So men health usually is associated with prostate concerns. Prostate concerns are very, very common in men, let's say above 50 years of age. Of course, it's different in different countries, different regions, but generally speaking. So if we are asking those men, what is the biggest concern in your prostate symptoms? Most of them will tell you they need to urinate. They need to urinate. People are waking up at night, going to the bathroom time after time. Sometimes it's very severe. And of course, it will affect your quality of life. All of us know how important is a good night's sleep. So even if they can feel the actual prostate enlargement or the physiological aspect of this change, if you are getting up at night 4 times, 5 times, it will affect your quality of sleep and affect your quality of life. So what is this mechanism of action? So the prostate gland, which is based near the bladder, is being inflamed. It also accumulates oxidative stress and inflammation over time, again, because of hormonal disbalance. So there are 3 pillars here. This is the hormonal disbalance, this is the inflammation, and the androgenic result. So all of them together will affect the prostate. It becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. It affects the bladder. And from this is the reason the men need to urinate overnight during the day. So it is also well known and established that lycopene that was tested maybe 30, 40 years ago is actually considered one of the primary treatment lines for non-cancerous, of course, I mean only symptomatic men. But it was also found during the years, the tocopherols, meaning the steroid within, not generally giving to prostate in symptomatic people, are also very, very efficient. That is why we automatically thought that our Lycomato can be a very good fit here. So we looked at Lycomato and how can it support the prostate health. So here is a preclinical study that was done directly on prostate cells. So when we pre-treated the cells with Lycomato, we observed that the prostate cells growth reduced significantly. Again, even in lower doses. Again, you remember that I already told you that it was reduced. So in other words, if we can control, even to some extent, the prostate cell growth, we can balance it and control it on the cellular level, we can help to cope with symptoms and make them slower. Okay, we can't reverse them altogether, but we can slow them down. And look at this great example. This is a clinical study that looked at 2 things, looked at a lot of things, but here we are showing you 2 things. So the lycopene levels, it's pretty straightforward, right? Before the therapy and after, we measured the lycopene in the blood of those men, and you see this, a very big increase. It went up twice, 100% increase. But at the same time, we measured the PSA levels. So the PSA is a marker that is commonly used to establish prostate symptoms. It is known that a PSA above 4 is usually considered consider problematic. Of course, if it goes higher, the concerns and the symptoms are getting higher. So look at the numbers. We started with an average of 6 in PSA, and after supplementation, it went down here specifically to 3.5, meaning below the normal range. This is the normal range. So look at the correlation between these two graphs. It happened, of course, simultaneously. When our body accumulated enough of the Lycomato, it combated the PSA levels on a cellular level. So again, this is a great proof that those are highly connected. When we are getting this reservoir of goodness, it will affect all our body organs. And in this case, the PSA levels went down. And you can see in the literature that lowering PSA levels, meaning improving, lowering symptoms of prostate enlargement. And when you're improving symptoms, you're improving the quality of life, which is the most important thing for all of us as health givers, as people that are in this business to help find solutions that will help quality of life of our customers and consumers. And I want to touch the eye health indications. While the eye health is a unique one. Why is it unique? Because what I've showed you all kinds of right body organs and indication. But the difference is that lycopene actually and the carotenoids within the Lycomato can't penetrate our eye. Why? Because we have something that is called BBB, blood-brain barrier, okay? Which basically makes sure that nothing penetrates the head, the eyes, the brain, because of potential damage. And only very small and very specific molecules can penetrate. So actually the lycopene itself does not go in to the eye. So how can it help, you ask, right? Why are we saying that Lycomato is good for eye health? So many different studies looked at different indications. You remember when we talked about heart health, I told you that reducing blood pressure is beneficial not only for cardiovascular problems, but also for eye health, for example. When we are reducing blood pressure, we are reducing blood pressure in the eyes. And we know that many chronic eye conditions are associated with high internal blood eye pressure. But this is not the only story. As you know, lutein, which is considered to be lutein and zeaxanthin, first and most common supplement carotenoid for eye health, that is LycoRed is also offering it in various applications. We're not presenting it here, but if it's an interest to you, we'll be happy to give you more information. So the lutein itself circles in the body and protects directly the eye from blue light and UV. Because it penetrates the eye, it circles inside. But the lutein can be oxidized very easily, meaning that its effect will go down. So we found that when we are supplementing with Lycomato, the lycopene inside the Lycomato has very high redox potential. Redox potential means the potential of being oxidized. It is being easily oxidized. That is why it protects the body from oxidative stress. So in this case, it sacrifices itself to protect the other compounds. It will sacrifice itself to protect the lutein, meaning that the lutein is standalone. Of course, it's very effective. But when we have an agent that will help the lutein in the body, it will be even better, okay? So it will sacrifice itself. It will protect the body from oxidative stress and inflammation. It will reduce the blood flow, the general blood flow, and of course, the blood flow within the eye. So they synchronizes greatly. So it doesn't even matter what kind of agent you prefer for your eye health. It's lutein, it's zeaxanthin, it's something else that you use. The Lycomato will support it in an indirect way. So together, there will be a perfect combination for eye health. So this is it. This is been my part for different indications. We can go on and on and on and show you more and more examples, because you understand that if we are able to affect the main pillars of our wellness, meaning the cellular wellness, the aging of our cells, the usefulness, the longevity, on the inner layers, we can affect everything. So we did a lot of different studies, as I said, in different indications, and we're keep doing that and keep exploring new fields and new potential indications. But we understand that if we correct the mechanism of action of inflammation, and we have this good anti-inflammaging agent like Lycomato, the possibilities are endless. It can be a great, great product as a standalone because you see the results. And it can be a great product when it combined with other products because it works in a great synergy. We have different studies that we did, so it can be a great co-worker for other ingredients or formulations, and they can work together in great synergy. And just a few words. So for many, many years, Lycomato was available mostly as oleoresin. Oleoresin because, of course, this is an oil, right? We are extracting the the tomato oil. The full extraction is an oil. And for many years, we weren't able to offer our customers other solutions, which was a shame because many wanted these great products to go into different types of application. And this year, finally, we just launched in the SSW, in the supply side west this year, the Lycomato dry format, because we developed our unique way of how to make this oleoresin, this oil, into different and dry formats. So today we offer a variety of options. You see, Lycomato is good in tablets, in beverages, in two-piece capsules, in soft gels, in gummies, and pretty much in everything that you need to support your product. Our stability and shelf life is great. Okay, we're constantly doing more and more studies, stability studies and bioavailability studies, meaning that we know that all types of applications are stable. All of them are bioavailable. We have more than 8 bioavailability studies for Lycomato that are making sure that we know and you know what the customer will supplement and what he will get on the other side. You know that bioavailability is a tricky question, a tricky topic, because a lot of supplements are promising you great things, but they can't even be tracked in the body and in the blood. So Lycomato is bioavailable and the Lycomato is stable. You see, for the oleoresin, we already have 5-year stability, and for the dry format already 2, because it's a relatively new product, but it's stable across applications. And we have a great, great, great application team that is able to support you almost for any request. We are working together with many of our customers, and we like to see ourselves in LycoRed not as an ingredient supplier, but as a partner, meaning that we are not only selling ingredients, but we are making opportunities and joint venture to happen, meaning that we can support you through all the process, not only of course, the sale process, but if we need co-branding, helping with marketing, helping with applications, help with understanding what works best with Lycomato, understand how to position it, how to sell it, and helping with education and how to, to tell the story of Lycomato depends on the angle that you need. We are here for all of that, and we can support you with everything that is needed. And as I said, Lycomato is not our only product. We have great, great, great different, many, many different products, single ingredients, formulations, extractions. Unfortunately, we can't go all over them here, but our three main beautology, as we call them, the beautology, because this is the beauty from within story. Wellness from within is our Lycomato that I introduced today. Our Luminato, which is also great, interesting. I hope that we will have a separate educational session that I will be able to talk to you about Luminato. This is another unique breed of tomato that LycoRed developed. This is our golden tomato breed that is packed with phyto-N and phytofluid and is great for skin structure solutions, highly substantiated for many clinical and preclinical studies, works on the skin from the inside out. And our Lycoderm solution, which is our sun hero. This is a combination of our Lycomato with carnosic acid that showed great results in photoprotection and helping the skin to cope with the external stressors that we combat every day. So this is just, just a few words, but we have many different solutions and different carotenoids and vitamins. And please feel free to scan this code or to go into our website and to get familiar with our great pipeline. And please don't hesitate to contact us for any information and any help that is needed. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you everyone for joining us today. If you do have any questions about Lycomato 6, about LycoRed, about any of the other solutions in the portfolio, please contact the information on the screen, infos@lycored.com. Thank you for joining us. We'll look forward to connecting with you again. Bye.